Okay. Hi, everybody. This is Elena of the Witch's Box, and I'm back on a Friday at 10 o'clock in the morning for our live guided meditation. Just give me a heads up to let me know that you can hear me. Let me adjust myself a little bit here. But yeah, let me know that you can hear me and that I'm here because this is a brand new computer, and already I had a little bit of a a little bit of a snafu. Also, crap, I haven't turned off my notification sounds on this computer. You know what? We're gonna roll. We're gonna roll. I just got this computer. I don't even know what day it is now. 2 days ago, on Wednesday, and it's exciting. It's beautiful. It's sexy, but I forgot what it's like to get everything started back up again. And so, anyway, hello, welcome to Friday. I feel like we just need to start taking a deep breath from the very beginning. I'm glad that you can hear me. Hello, Callum and Julmar and Lissum and Emily. Welcome. What a day, eh? It's been a day. I have an email newsletter send out that I've been working on for the last few days. It's a heavy week. A lot is going on the planet, and particularly with Russia and the Ukraine, and the images coming out of Ukraine are just horrifying. And there's no way that every single one of us isn't affected by this. So just keep taking deep breaths. Let me, while you guys enter and say hello. Hi, Kim. Thank you for letting me know that you can hear me. I didn't even think about this. Does anyone know how to turn off the notification? The notification sounds on my computer. Hold on a second. Here, I got it. I got it. Because I don't want you to hear a bunch of dings in the middle of um, your meditation. But how do I turn this off? Well, we may have to just deal with it because I don't know how to do this. There you go. It's that day. It's kind of a strange day, and I can't seem to figure this out. Well, I'm going to look at one more thing before I focus back on you. Isn't there like a sound? Here we go. I didn't think about this because I always have every single thing on my phone, or all of it, all the dings and the whistles and the bells and the blah blah blah. It's always turned off. And then I just didn't even think that when I put everything on here, selected output sound, play sound at startup, play user interface sound effects. No. All right. We're going to have to let it go and just know that there will be some sounds in the background. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, and then I'll figure this out when I go home for sure. Should be in the taskbar, bottom right on the screen usually. Look for the speaker icon. Okay, I'm on a Mac, so my speaker icon is not at the bottom. I don't have a speaker icon at the top either. Let's just be okay with it. We'll deal with it later. All right, you have your tea and your candles ready. I have got my candle ready. Let's just get into it. Hi, Catlin. Welcome. Hi, Catherine. Welcome. Yeah, I was looking in settings under sounds, and I was also looking in settings under notifications, and there's no little button that says turn off notification sounds. I'm gonna peek one more time, but there's a lot to talk about in terms of forgiveness today, so I wanna spotlight, notifications, and focus. I mean, that's a notification, right? It's a notification to hear a little ding. Allow notifications is turned off. When display is sleeping, nope. Yeah, this is in reference to notifications that come up, like those little toasts, you know? If I close my email, let's do that. Maybe it'll be quiet. All right, let's hope that worked. We'll see how that goes. Launchpad settings system. Yeah, no, I was in system preferences and I can't find the button, but I just closed my email and that's really the only thing that was dinging. So hopefully that won't ding now that That's closed, and so is my messenger. Okay. Oh my God, Catherine Factor, girl, how are you doing? I love that you're here. Catherine Factor is an amazing poet. I know her from a million years ago here in Idlewild. Welcome. It's good to see your name pop up. That's amazing. Okay, let's get it together. Let me get some water and let's start talking because holy cow, that was a rough start. Sorry. Mm. And Kay Huffy, yeah, you're definitely here. Wonderful. And also, I want to just really thank all of you for being patient with the fact that I wasn't here for Tuesday and I wasn't here for the Wednesday gathering. And, but Wednesday afternoon, I was going to wait until Thursday morning to pick up my computer because we had a snowstorm on Wednesday, but I couldn't wait. So somehow, I don't know how I made it off this hill and back up, but I got a computer on Wednesday. So hopefully, I'm going to knock on wood. We won't have issues with my computer for another 5, 6, 7, 8 years. So hopefully, boom, we're good. Okay, today we're going to be talking about and working with forgiveness. And I wanted to say a couple of things about forgiveness before we go into the meditation because it's a complicated word, and it's a word and it's a concept and a practice that we all have a lot of baggage around. And I wanted to talk about it before we go into it because I don't want to steer you in the wrong direction with this. And I want you all to be clear. There is a lot of misguidedness around forgiveness because there is this notion that if you hurt me or you transgress in some way against me, the high spiritual road is to be like, I forgive you, I absolve you, it's okay, and then you move on. But oftentimes it's not okay. And oftentimes, most of the time, it's not going to be okay for you for a long time. And we have a lot of internal conflict around this idea that if you do something that I feel really hurt about, like genuinely, like there's a hurt that has occurred here, that the longer I take to get over it, then somehow that reflects negatively on me. Like, why am I not getting over it? What's wrong with me that I can't just forgive? Why don't I have compassion? Why am I not spiritual? Right? There's all of this horrible talk around this. There is a fine edged sword that you balance with this because you have to feel what you're going to feel. You have to feel the hurt. You have to feel the betrayal. You have to feel the confusion. You have to feel the mourning, because sometimes when you are hurt by someone else, a change in the relationship might have occurred, right? Because forgiveness usually involves at least more than one person. It involves you and someone else. We're not going to even begin to touch on forgiving yourself. That's a whole other bag of worms that we can maybe talk about at another time. But now it's usually within the context of some kind of relationship. Friends, lovers, family, society, right? Because if you're being oppressed by a whole group of society, there's a lot of forgiveness, right? That comes up around that. You should forgive. Sometimes you don't have to forgive, and sometimes you should not forgive. It's a confusing thing, but I wanted to break some of this down. So this is a super simplistic example, but let's say I hurt you. I do something awful. I said that I was going to have your back and I didn't, and instead I betrayed you. I don't know, make up some story. Yeah. You're genuinely hurt because you thought that I was going to be a certain way with you, and instead I did something that wasn't kind to your heart in some way. You're genuinely hurt. And an argument can be made for the fact that maybe trust has now been broken. And it hurts. There's mourning involved. But what happens in the aftermath of those feelings is that then it's like why did she do that? And what does this say about me? And why would she do this to me? What is that about? And you start to perseverate. We habituate into this pattern of like, we cannot let it go. It happened and I'm hurt and I'm feeling my feelings, but I'm still in a cycle where I cannot let it go and move beyond it, because now I'm wondering, what does this mean about me? Or you're wondering, what does this mean about you? Is it your worth? Is it your lack of worth that would cause someone like me to do this to you? All of these questions come up, yeah? And we keep going and we keep going and we keep going. Long after, like, you'll keep going with this pain and this like perseverating thinking way long after I've moved on, or way long after I've said, look, I'm sorry and you should have been over it by now, right? I'm moving on with my life. And this isn't necessarily a judgment call, because understand that we're all walking around with very different stories of reality in our heads always. My reality on my end is very different than yours. And maybe I did it because I wasn't feeling good about myself, or maybe I did it because this is my habit and my dysfunctional dynamic and I do this all the time. Maybe it has to do with the fact that I was dealing with something else and I reacted, and now I feel like you're overreacting and you shouldn't feel this way. And now I'm mad at you for being hurt. It gets messy. So, what I want to say about forgiveness is this: forgiveness is really more about the person hurt than it is about the person who did the hurting. Forgiveness is about when are you going to unhook yourself from the dynamic of hurt that you keep cycling through. Because you get to a point sometimes when you have processed all of the hurt and you've processed all of the dysfunction and you've processed all of the distrust, where you realize what that person did to me wasn't even about me. I wasn't even in it. Yeah, it hurt me. Yeah, I didn't deserve that, but it wasn't even about me. And that allows you this beautiful space to disengage yourself from that back and forth, to recognize I'm not even in that. I got to keep going, right? You move on. You didn't make that person okay. You didn't make that person right. You didn't absolve them of whatever it is that they did. That's on them. That's their responsibility. That's on their soul, whatever that is. That's You're not in that, right? You're not in any of that. And you can pivot and move on with your life and let that hook go. Yeah? Does that make sense? And so, what is the timeline for that? Look, the timeline can be whatever it needs to be for you. Some people are able to get to that place very quickly, and then sometimes people take years. It just depends on the grievance, the transgression and the hurt. It just depends. But ultimately, forgiveness has nothing to do with the person who was injuring the other person. It has everything to do with the person forgiving. It's about freeing yourself of a habituated cycle of still being in the hurt, still replaying the thing, still trying to justify yourself, still trying to figure out what you did wrong. It's letting it go. Yeah. But you have to be ready. And it has to be a situation in which you've really taken the time to heal from whatever wounding occurred from that transgression. Yeah. So I say all that to say that forgiveness in this context, and in the context I think of what really forgiveness is about, has nothing to do with making the other person okay or right or absolving them. It has nothing to do with anybody else but you and where you were at with that hurt, and if you're able to move on. There's no judgment as to how long that takes. But as long as you're still hooked in, you are stuck. It's another stuck point that you have that you're still not moving from. Yeah. And ultimately it really hurts you. Hi Kay, welcome. And hi Carol, welcome as well. So I say all that because I want to help you kind of find a thing to work on in this meditation that isn't fresh, that isn't huge, that you are long past, but every once in a while it still comes into your mind and you still get like a little pissed off about it, right? This is not for the kind of transgression where you are still very actively in the pain and the wounding and you can't see clearly beyond that. This is for that thing that happened 5 years ago that now is kind of an annoyance, but when you think about it, you're still like, right? You're still feeling it. And if you really indulge yourself, you can still get into like the circular thinking about what the hell was that about and why? Why would she do that? Why would blah, 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 right? So it's about the thing that you've had enough distance from, whether you're in contact with that person or not. And you know that you're still kind of hooked there, but it's not a super inflamed pain where you are really in agony over it still. So this is very specific, right? So you want to find something that you're still kind of pissed off about, you're still a little hurt, but you're actually more irritated and pissed off than you are really devastated and hurt. Does that make sense? Because that's what we're going to work on. We're going to work on what it would be like to just say yes to unhooking and letting that go and understanding that you're not in it. It's very simple. It's a choice. You don't even actually really have to do a meditation around it, but we're going to do a meditation around it anyway as a way to give you a resource. So I'm going to take a sip because Mama is really dry. And let's see what's going on in the box. So Kay is here. Carol, yes, hello from Oklahoma. All right, let me really quickly because my window. Okay, we're good. Yeah, and if you have any questions, like let's get those questions out of the way now. Because if that wasn't clear, I definitely want it to be clear for all of you before we just jump in. The neighborhood witch. Hi, welcome. I'm trying to think of anything else that wants to come up. Yeah, and you might find within yourself some resistance to this idea that you have to forgive in order to be really spiritual. Some things are unforgivable. Some things you might not, and I say that in the sense that some things you just might not ever be able to unhook yourself from. Partly because it's perpetual, right? In a state of where you're constantly, let's say, being oppressed by someone or a group of people, because it's a constant action, a constant transgression, it can be incredibly difficult to unhook yourself from that because you're constantly being transgressed against, number one. Number two, justice in that sense needs to be served. We often feel like justice needs to be served for the smaller transgressions when really it wasn't about you. You need to move on. Something like oppression also isn't about you, but you suffer massive consequences from it. It becomes a little harder. Yeah. These are the small things, the things that we can sort of begin to control so that we manage our bandwidth. We manage the things that are draining us on a regular basis. There are things that we can let go that serve us better in the letting go because we are freed up to deal with other things in a much more complete and whole manner. Um, mm, 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 mm. Oh, I am Kay Huffy. I was bored with my name. I love it. Thoughts on forgiving but not forgetting. Right. Well, there's that. I mean, look, let me see if I can come up with an example. I have an example, but I'm trying to see how I can protect the not so innocent. um, I experienced this is several, I don't even know how many years ago now. It's been a long time. Um, I had a really dear friend who I can't even go there. I had a really dear friend and we were engaged in in a project together. And um my experience of the situation was that inexplicably she turned on a dime. This is my experience. And pretty much cut me out, which was really confusing. And I tried many, many times to say, hey, like reach out and say, hey, I don't know what's going on here. Did I do something? Um, like help a sister out. I'm willing to like hear whatever it is that I did. I'm willing to have a conversation. I'm so sorry, whatever it is, I want to make this better. I never really got I never got a response. Basically, it was like a massive cut, a massive ghost. She was out the door, it was done, and I'm just like, I don't even know what's going on here. And I was really hurt in the beginning. And then that hurt became really like a lot of anger. Like, what is that? Who are you that you would do this? Like, I went through this whole process. So I was in the hurt, I was in the confusion for a while. Then I was in the anger, like, who is this person? I thought she was a good person who would just cut someone off. Like, you go through all of the stories. And then I went through, what did I do? Who am I? Like, was I horrible? Did I, you go through every single thing that you've ever done to make sure that you didn't do something wrong, right? In the end, for whatever reason, because I'm always in meditation and I'm always in contact with my guides, like, you know what I'm saying? I do the work on a regular basis. It was what I realized is this was not about me. Sure, it happened to me, and seemingly I feel like she did it to me. But there was also a dynamic where I recognized she bailed a lot, not ever giving people a reason. And so it got me to a place where I recognized this probably wasn't as much about me as I thought that it was, regardless of the fact that it hurt, regardless of the fact that I lost her friendship, which meant a lot to me, more so than the project. Um, and then, and this is about the forgetting and the forgiving, right? When I realized that, even though it just didn't make sense to me, I realized I'm not in this, but also this is a dynamic that I don't belong in and I don't choose for myself. I could pivot away from that and disconnect from that dynamic easily and turn and move on. So now I can talk about it and I don't feel the anger, I don't feel the hurt. It's just not about me. And I've moved on. Later, a couple years later, um, oddly, awkwardly, an opportunity came back around for us to do something together where she was behaving in a way where it's like, oh, nothing happened. Oh my God, this would be amazing. Let's do this. But I didn't forget. because this is a person who doesn't handle interpersonal communication in a way that is worthy of me. She doesn't come to the table correct for me. Do you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't even about the anger or the hurt anymore. It was a recognition of, I remember how it was to be with you. I remember what it was like to interact with you. I remember what it's like to be in conflict with you. And I can make different choices now. Does that make sense? And so that's an example of the forgiving and and not forgetting, because I have information now. And this isn't how I engage in relationships. This isn't how I engage in conflict. And so I made decisions based on who I am, and which had literally nothing to do with how she is, right? Does that make sense? And so that's an example of the forgiving and the forgetting. Um oh gosh, hold on a second. Thoughts okay, I read that. Callum says, how can this be used for a single scene in a film that caused me to feel physically ill and sheer hatred for the male character committing the act, even though it wasn't seen, only heard? Okay, well, you're talking about you had these feelings because of something that you watched, which is a fiction, yeah? Or maybe it wasn't. Um, I don't know how to answer that. Let me read that again. How can this be used? So what I'm hearing, Colin, is that you were watching something and there was a scene in which the behavior of the actor made you feel physically ill and sheer hatred for the actor. A situation like that, that's that's a common characteristic of being triggered. You're triggered by something that you saw that was a fiction, because somewhere in your world that kind of betrayal or that kind of transgression is an unattended to wound within you. Yeah. So before you even approach the idea of how do I forgive or how do I apply this, you need to understand what that's about. You need to understand what was triggered. You need to understand what is that wound so that you can tend to that wound. Yeah. And identify what it is. Project Refine Life. Hello, Camilla. Hello. Camilla says there are things that you can't forgive because you are a spiritual person, because you can feel how much it hurts both in you and in other people. And then, and also, yes, and with everything, you're sovereign. You don't have to forgive. You can still be hooked in. There is, I mean, this is a completely different topic, but there is a world where the choice is made. If you are magically really adept, that hook is hooked both ways, and that hook can be used magically. You can make a choice to not unhook yourself with forgiveness because you're still using that as a way to either affect that other person or to continue to perpetuate within yourself something that you're still getting a payoff from. Yeah? That's where the shadow work comes in. The Neighborhood Witch says, I have a chronic illness and pain and have had a couple of doctors when I was younger accuse me of just wanting opioids. Oh, you want to read a book? That talks a lot about that kind of treatment, especially towards women. I don't know what your gender is, but it happens to everybody. Um, what is the name of that book? Oh, Medicine Woman by Lucy Pierce, Lucy H. Pierce. It's not a happy ending, that book, but that book was truth to power, and it speaks a lot along the lines of that particular dynamic that you're talking about, not just with opioids, but in general, not being seen by your medical professionals. Season Weemoon says, I forgave many abusers, but I have not forgotten the harm in the journey of healing or nursing myself to wholeness. Yeah. Because here's the thing, and this is what I really want to make sure that you get. A, you don't have to do it. A, there are going to be some times when you just cannot forgive. This is really more about those little, more smaller transgressions that also serve to hold you back, that you can cut and let go of, because there are bigger fish to fry. There are bigger wounds that you need to be tending to. There are bigger links where forgiveness may not be attainable, but that really takes a lot of your energy. That hurt takes a lot of your energy. These are the smaller ones where really you can let this go. Part of the benefit of this is that you begin to really realize your resiliency, but also that you are whole unto yourself, and what other people do to you doesn't take away from your value, and it doesn't take away from who you are. And although it may have taken away your sovereignty in the moment, you have sovereignty now to say, I'm not in you, and you don't get to have any more space in my head anymore. You know what I'm saying? So this is nuance because it's not necessarily about the big things. In fact, I do not want you to work with the big things. This is not about that because that's a whole other thing. This is about the smaller transgressions that you're still hooked into that still drain your energy when really we all have enough on our plates that really require our energy, and these things just deplete us even more and they're unnecessary. Yeah? Okay, I gotta clean my glasses because I don't know what's happening here. Um, but now I can't see what you're saying. Oh my goodness. All right. Hold on. I don't even know. Okay, wait. The neighborhood witch says, I suffered for way longer than I should have and had to have an unnecessary surgery, repair surgeries after due to them not believing me. I can meditate. I can meditate on forgiving that. You can meditate on forgiving that. If that's what you want to do and it doesn't feel like it's too fresh, because even though it's been a long time, that's huge. That's a big transgression. Yeah. So, but if you feel like that's the thing for you, do it for sure. Um, And then the neighborhood witch says, sounds like my point of view on the forgetting to Susan Weeman. Yes. Emily says, yes, this is so true. I experienced something like this recently. A friend's husband had a massive go at me on an evening out for no reason. He was so cruel and aggressive. It was all about him. Oh my God, I'm so sorry that happened. Yeah, things like that. Here's the thing. Things like that over time become easier because you don't really have to forgive that. You recognize this had nothing to do with you. That fool was on some other thing and it was transgressive against you. But when we understand where we begin and where we end, things like that don't linger in us. We're able to be like, yeah, that's not me, and I move on because we're working in the world of energy as well, right? It's probably incredibly disconcerting and scary, and it's probably going to alter the dynamic of your relationship. But it was all about him, right? It's not you. And I think that that's one of the more important things too, that a practice like this is really helpful because over time you stop questioning your value. You stop questioning whether you deserved it. You just are clear, like, that's not what, no, that had nothing to do with me. I'm not in it. And that is a place of sovereignty as well. That doesn't shield you from experiencing the pains of the world, but it shields you from those more, um, I don't want to call them minor, but more obvious infractions where you weren't even part of what was going on, even though you had happened to be on the receiving end of it. Okay, I don't know what's happening. um, let's see. All right, sorry. Oh my goodness. Column says, yeah, that's right. It was only a fiction show, but I literally felt pain and hatred watching it, and it still makes me angry. I have that experience. I haven't been able to watch. What is that show that everyone's talking about? That's Margaret Atwood. I can't even remember the name because I'm so traumatized by the concept. Oh my God, with the women with the red robes and the white hats. What is that called? I don't even. I watched, I think, one episode and I found the entire premise. I mean, I've known about this. The Handmaid's Tale. That's what it is. I've known about this book all my life. I think we had to read some of it in high school or college. I don't even remember. It was a big deal. It's been a big deal. It's a classic work at this point, maybe. Um, but the concept alone, the anxiety and the rage that I had just in half of an episode, I was like, this isn't. If I'm going to watch TV, it needs to entertain me. I can't have television put me in such a state where I'm like, I need a bottle of alcohol to get through this. It's like, that's just ridiculous. It's like seething red hot, white hot rage at watching that show. And of course, it's a trigger. It's a trigger for all the oppression that women have experienced, for the oppression that I myself have experienced throughout my life because I'm a woman, right? It completely triggers a very real trauma. So I know where that trauma originates. And quite frankly, I haven't actually, I work on it in some ways, but in other ways, I've chosen to keep that rage because I think that that rage also is a survival skill in this world. So everything is a little different, but really understand where that's coming from. TV can be a really amazing way to help excavate, like, oh, what's lurking underneath the surface? Why was I upset about that? Why was I really thrown off by that one interaction that seemingly seemed like a benign interaction between two people on television, and I'm still thinking about it. Those are amazing clues for you to look at as, what did that trigger for me? Like, what is that resonating with in my past that I haven't been looking at, obviously, and that I need to identify? But yeah, I can't watch that show. Mm-mm. I'm exhausted by it. I can't. Um, oh goodness. Okay, so yes, thank you. Emily posted the link to Medicine Woman by Lucy H. Pierce. And Season Wee Moon posted a Wisdom of Love Speaking, Nourishing Meditation. Thank you. Oh, I love that. Emily says, yes, big time. It's really sad because I have always blamed myself in these situations, but I'm working on it. Massively beautiful. Because it's not you. It's not you. Someone's bad behavior isn't about you. You know what I mean? They haven't managed their shit well, and you sadly have to pay the consequences for it. But it's not you, and it's not about you. And that's one of the hardest things that's one of the hardest steps, I think, to reach. And then once you've reached that, then it becomes easier. All right, I am going to show. Oh, I just clicked something in my window. There we go. Okay. Exactly what I felt, only more homicidal rage than anything. Yeah. No, yeah. No, and sometimes homicidal rage without the homicide is a justifiable feeling, right? There's a lot of injustice in the world, and right now we're in the middle of what is one of the most egregious. We've had a lot of egregious violations and transgressions right now with this war that's happening, and it's impossible to not be in a state of rage, I think, all the time. It's really, really impossible. Emily says, yes, I've been scared to watch that to a bottle of alcohol to get through it. I really love Elias Grace by Margaret Atwood. I haven't read that. That's my favorite one. Right. When you have to start drinking, I mean, that's a sign. Do you know what I'm saying? That's a sign that maybe you shouldn't be engaging in that. I'm like, if I have to medicate to watch a TV show, maybe the answer is just don't watch the TV show. Yeah. Oh God, I can't. My skin, even my skin felt like burny, itchy. Like I just, oh God, oh God. And I know it's an amazing show because I keep hearing about how just phenomenal the acting is, but no, not for me. Okay, the Neighborhood Witch says, okay, yeah, I have a simpler one to use instead because now that I think of it, those surgeries prevented me from pursuing my dreams and moving to New York and changed my entire life path. So yeah, no. Yeah, some things are bigger. So choose the smaller ones. Colin says, my sisters experienced that several times. That's it. So I've seen the effects, and that's just so much hatred. Yes. No, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. For the males or females who could do such awful, vile things, literally soul destruction. Yeah. Yeah. And that's it. And that's justifiable. That is totally justifiable. It's a murky, murky subject. It's hard to parse these things out because we're talking about already forgiveness as a concept that is confusing and challenging and that has a lot of baggage around it, especially religious baggage around it. So in those circumstances, I always say start with the smallest thing because I think about us, we are all energy, and our movement is what creates expansion and growth. Moving energy creates expansion and growth, but this is my like metaphor, and it's a confusing metaphor for people, so I'm trying to figure out a different way to say this, but this is the one that relates the most to me. I think about a slipstream of energy, like a moving river of energy, like a pure signature. So we talk a lot about this in harvesting the honey in terms of abundance. Abundance is a slipstream of energy. It's a very particular energy. It moves in a particular way. And when we are in that slipstream of abundance, which we all are, the things that keep us oftentimes from having the full experience of that energetic flow and pace of abundance are the snags that come in the form of our belief systems that kind of, if you're in a stream but you're bumping up against rocks and you're hooking up against twigs, you slow yourself down. Yeah. And those things that kind of snag you are things like in the instance of abundance, narrowing and small belief systems around what you deserve with money or not. Or we all walk around, not all of us, many of us walk around with this like Oh, something always happens to me. I'm never the one that wins, right? Those are snags that keep you from fully feeling and embodying and being one with the flow of abundance, right? It is similar to what we're talking about with forgiveness. There are things in which we are still so hooked into old, like Tommy when I was 5, who pushed me off the slide and I hurt my knee. And F that dude. Like, I'm how old am I now? I'm 50. If I'm still thinking F that dude when I was 5, that's a snag. It's an easy thing to say, I'm letting that go. It doesn't even matter. It wasn't even about me. I don't need to like be in that. That kind of forgiveness is like house cleaning of the dust on the ground that kind of keeps things from shining. Yeah? So it's about energetic hygiene. Those easy things that you're still kind of like F that and forget him and oh, I remember that thing that isn't devastating, that isn't acute pain. When we let those things go, we become much more aerodynamic and able to flow with the energy streams or the slipstreams of things like healing and sovereignty and freedom and personal power and just being stocked up with energy because we've now plugged up a couple of leaks. Does that make sense? It might just make sense to talk about this and not even do the meditation. So I don't know. Okay, hold on a second. Um, Hi, Jacqueline. Welcome. Yeah, and then Neighborhood Witch says, "Yeah, I don't know if forgiveness would even be in the vocabulary at that point." Yeah. It's just a TV show and it's so stupid. I'm so angry. It's not stupid that you're angry over it because it touches on a really massive wound. That is that is a very real wound. That is a very understandable wound. There are just certain things that, I mean, how does that make sense to be watching something for entertainment that triggers and pokes at such a horrible wound? So no, I mean, that's just you having that experience all over again. So it's not that it's stupid. It's just that you're still in the pain. And you may always be in that pain because it's a big one. Um, Neighborhood Witch laughs and says, I have so many of those memories from when I was in elementary school and middle school. Right, right. So that kind of is a little bit of a trivial example, but it's, I think, a good example. We have a lot of those smaller things. And that's what we want to focus on. Just pick one smaller thing so that you can give yourself the experience of saying, I'm not in that. That doesn't even matter. I'm moving on. That's all you really want to do here. Okay, we've been talking for almost 40 minutes. Holy cannolis. So, are you ready? Do you want to do this or do you want to just keep talking about forgiveness? We can be flexible here. The Neighborhood Witch says, memories that no one other than I remember anymore. Right, but I can lie awake at night unable to sleep due to one of those horrid memory snags. Yes, that is a perfect example of that. Oftentimes the person who did the thing, it doesn't even remember who you are. You're right. Do you know what I'm saying? It wasn't even about you. So that, thank you, Neighborhood Witch. That is a really great example of one of those things. It's those things too that you still have a reaction to, but it's like so long ago. I mean, what does that even, it's not even part of your life. It's not even part of who you are, but it snags you. And we're witches. This is about energetic hygiene. This is about power. And not to feel, what was I going to say there? Yeah, that went away. It's gone. Maybe it'll come back. Yes to meditation. Talking live is so healing. Okay, so we've got 2 yes to meditations and 1 to talking. I know talking live is really great. We can also definitely talk about this um, next Tuesday because I'm between now and Tuesday. I'll probably send out. I will send out because I've got most of it written at this point. I have a newsletter email going out about the kind of magic that we can do at this time, especially with what's going on in the world. This is affecting every single one of us. Don't think for 1 second that you are not going to be affected by the horrors that's happening in the Ukraine. No one's going to get out of this. This is a big one. It's going to affect everything on every level. Even for those of us who are incredibly privileged and incredibly insulated, especially in the United States, we are all going to be affected by this for decades to come. So I'm putting together a spell. I'm putting together a couple of things to send out to you in terms of what we can do, and we can definitely talk about that on Tuesday. But forgiveness can certainly play a part of that. Okay. Okay, we're gonna do the meditation, and the meditation is actually not a quick. It's not a long one, but just to give you the experience of consciously choosing to let it go, so we can do that. And then there are questions here. Hold on a second. Any specific color candles? So for this one, for a candle, okay, so always the default, if you have no other color, white is great. Boom. I mean, because we're just starting the meditation, and I like this candle as a way to, we're transitioning, right? And to kind of fuel the intention with the flame, but also to let the space know we're shifting, and the space can support you in that shift. However, for a meditation like this, you can go two different ways. You can go black as a way to, I am dissolving this thing, or you can go white as a way to designate, like, I'm having a new beginning, like I'm pivoting. This is a whole new path, and I'm fresh and new now. This isn't even a part of me anymore. So you can go both ways. There was another question. Any specific color candle? Okay, so I answered that. Or incense or crystal. Right now, I go in phases, and I'm a little bit of an obsessive girl. So I have been on an incense, like not an incense, yeah, an incense kick, but a scent kick. I have been really back to working pretty heavily with cedar. Excuse me. And I love cedar because cedar is a cleanser. Cedar is a sanctifier, right? And cedar is a protector. And also it smells amazing, and it just gets me in a really very like into my personal spiritual work mood really quickly. So I like to work with incenses or scents or herbs that are supportive and have like a blanket intention that support the more refined intention. Does that make sense? So in terms of a forgiveness scent, I can't think of anything that is specific to that off the top of my head, unless someone else does. Please go ahead and share that. But for me, especially when I'm doing this kind of work, because cedar is a cleanser, like a purifier, a sanctifier, and a protector, those things really seem to fit really well with pretty much everything that I do magically. So you can go with an herb or an incense that does that. In terms of a crystal, black tourmaline to absorb whatever remnant of that hook is left is really good. Okay, we are going to definitely do a meditation. I'm going to read all the way down to the last neighborhood witch comment, and then we're going to like and do the meditation. I'm glad, Ladybug, that you are appreciating this talk. Season Weeman says 4 stages of forgiveness: forgo, forbear, forget, forgive, by Clarissa Pinkola Estes, with in Women Who Run with the Wolves. Ooh, Camilla. Okay, I can do. Hold on. I'm gonna write this down because I'll forget. Oracle pull on forgiveness. We can do that on Tuesday. Forgiveness. And for that, maybe I'll use a different deck for that. We'll see. Okay, so Oracle pull on forgiveness on Tuesday. Yeah, no, obsessive. Cedar is beautiful. Awesome. I have cedar. Beautiful. Frankincense is always really purifying. Yes, and frankincense is also really, really gorgeous. And for forgiveness, maybe lavender or calendula. Beautiful suggestions. Okay. So if you have those and you want to add them to your candle or to a little piece of charcoal, I'm going to give you 30 seconds. Like, get up, run, get your thing. And then when you come back to your seat, light your candle and then come into stillness. And I'm going to light it now so that we can all just transition. This is a lot of chatter, a lot of talking. Come into your body, light your candle. Is this loud? Sorry. Light your candle to symbolize to yourself and to the space that you're transitioning. You're coming into stillness and to your meditative seat. And in a second or two, we'll start once everyone comes back to their location. And Emily, you can go ahead and post our little message. for those that come in later. Okay. As you settle into your meditative seat and you light your candle, you can start closing your eyes and just tuning into the natural flow of your breathing. You just want to check in to what your breath sounds like as it comes in and out of your body in your natural flow. There's been a lot of talking and chatter this morning, so it may take you a little longer to get still, and your breath and just simply listening helps you get there. Now slowly begin to breathe with intention, where you're lengthening the in-breath, going slower and deeper to see how far the air can flow within you. And then releasing it like almost reluctantly because it's so beautiful and so nourishing. You're almost reluctant to let it go. So you let it go slowly, savoring each little bit of it before it exhales completely. Allow yourself to get used to this new pace. Slower, deeper, intentioned. Still listening to the sounds of that air moving in and out of your body. Making note of the new sensations in your body. Your rib cage might be expanding a bit more. You might feel the little stretches, the micro stretches here and there around your torso. Your belly may be extending and contracting in a way that gives you sensation. You're just checking in, savoring the breathing, slowing it down, and noting the sensations. And like with all things in nature and all things in the body, your breath is a ritual cleansing. You can use your exhale to let go of any tension or any stress or any distraction that might be coming up. Let the exhale carry that out as you continue to focus on your breathing. Your inhale is life and sustenance and nurturing. And then your exhale just releases what's not serving you. And it becomes a beautiful ritual of replenishment and release. You can use your breath this way as well for mental distractions, any thoughts, lists, noise outside, anything that comes up that distracts your mind. Just bring it back to the breath and let the exhale let it go. And now, as we've done before, we're going to shift the breathing a little bit so that when you inhale, you're inhaling with your entire body. Your entire body, every cell, every molecule, every little bit of you receives that breath fully. You receive life and sustenance and nourishment fully, so that the whole body inhales. And still, through your nose, when you exhale, you release whatever doesn't serve. Without effort, you just trust that this is the process that's happening. Now bring your awareness to that thing, that one transgression, that hurt, or that moment when someone let you down or said that thing that you still, after all this time, hold on to. Just one thing. You can start with one very small thing. The indignance might still be there, the hurt might still be there, and the habituated questions of why might still be there. Breathe into this memory and all the ways that you still hold this and all the ways that it still makes you feel. Let that expansive breath bring you into that experience. And then answer the question for yourself. What would you be? Who would you be if you just let it go? This isn't about letting anybody off the hook or making them right and you wrong. It's just a question. Who would you be if you simply moved on from it without any need to look back? Who would you be if it just didn't matter anymore? Because your life is your own and your identity is your own to create and grow at will. Who would you be if it just didn't matter anymore? Because your life is your own and your identity is your own to create and grow at will. What would it feel like to become aware that the power they might have had is irrelevant to the life you have today and who you are today? What would it feel like to become aware that the power they might have had is irrelevant to the life you have today and who you are today? Just breathe into those possibilities. You can let go of the story. You can let the hook go. Breathe this reality into your body. You can let go of the story using your exhale to help you. It doesn't have to matter that it happened or why it happened or why it was you. You can be free. Are you willing to be free of this thing? Say yes and keep breathing this reality in. Your value has not been diminished, and being right or wrong doesn't matter. You are whole. Your freedom matters. Allow yourself to have this freedom, remembering that someone else's behavior is their own, and that you have gone on and grown and become more. You are long beyond that event. It is not about you. You were not in it then, and you are so beyond it now. Witch, own your power and release yourself and go free. Say yes. And when you are ready, turn away from the hooks that have kept you stuck in this energy. Turn away from whoever did this, not in rejection, but in endless, ongoing interaction that is keeping you stuck. You turn away as a choice for more, as a choice for wholeness, and as a choice for freedom. So turn away and walk towards a lighter, freer you. And when you're ready, you can journal a little bit about this, or you can come back to the group. So this is a short one. And in truth, you don't necessarily need this meditation to do this. But it does give you a little bit of a longer moment in the choice so that you can experience it on various levels. And it was also an opportunity to fill you with affirmation, which oftentimes we need. And my hope for all of us is that when we do things like this, we become more spiritually and intellectually aware of just how many things we are connected to and tapped into. There's beauty in that complexity because we are tapped into and connected to the whole of life as it exists. And there's so many beautiful expressions of life. But we're also very complexly and very, very connected to millions. I don't want to discourage you with that number, but countless connections that deplete us, that are not life affirming, that are not biophilic. Yeah, we've talked about biophilic before. And those connections drain us. They don't serve our power, they don't serve our healing, they don't serve our life expression on this planet. And when we do things like this, we become just a little lighter. We become a little bit more empowered. We become a little bit more present to all of the life that we're truly connected to in the moment. It frees us. It frees a part of us that was stuck. And so forgiveness is sticky and messy and difficult, and it should never be rushed. But we probably all walk around with quite a treasure trove of those old grievances that require a letting go. Those are easy forgivenesses because we recognize that on some level those are habituated hooks. We've been in the habit of being still pissed off about that thing 20 years ago. It doesn't really hold charge anymore. And so the conscious act of saying, I'm letting this go, I'm unhooking from this, is a powerful spell that leaves you empowered. Yeah. The bigger things, that's for another time, a different path and a different type of working, because there are things that are not forgivable. There are things that we need to stay hooked into. There are different types of transgressions. This isn't about that. Yeah. So like that. This may also be something that requires practice, where you need to do it a couple of times to feel it because it's habituated, right? Me being pissed off at that kid when I was 5 who pushed me off the slide. I mean, that's a long time to be in that habit and belief system and in that tape. So let's say, as an example, if 2 weeks from now I'm in a park at a playground and I see it happen to someone else and I think, man, that happened to me too when I was 5, and I have that same angry reaction, that's an opportunity to say, oh, wait, yeah, I'm past that. It doesn't even matter anymore. I let that go, to help practice the letting that charge go. The habit and the nervous system is like trained to have that charge come up every time I think about that memory. It might take some practice to let that go and find a new groove in the way we manage that. Hi, Ada. Welcome. If you missed it, you can definitely catch this on the replay. Thank you, Jolmar. You're welcome. Callum says, turns out I'm struggling with the feeling of powerlessness to help to hold the line against the evils of the world and all the wickedness mankind can produce. Any advice? Oh, Callum. That makes me want to cry. I think that a lot of us are feeling that. There is such a horrific sense of powerlessness and grief and righteous rage over not being able to help and being powerless to what's going on around us in our personal lives and in the world. And my advice is probably counterintuitive. And you also say, I know I'm not a soul warrior, but it certainly feels that way sometimes. We're not soul warriors. We are all part of a family of people. On the grander scale, we are part of humanity, but also now as witches, we are part of our very particular web across the planet. We are part of a very particular family and unit in some ways, because we, even though we're so different, so many, every witch is a unique witch unto themselves. We are all striving in some way collectively to tap in, to connect, and to support and to heal. Yeah. So my advice right now, and this is what part of what I'm writing about in the newsletter, is that through the resonant field, we can help support each other, which means this. Right now, we're depleted. Right now, we're angry. Right now, we're in shock and we're confused and we're hurt and we're feeling the horrific impact to life right now that's going on. On Tuesday night when I went to sleep, I had just like this tightness, like just under, right above my stomach, but just in the center of my chest, but a little bit lower. And it was tight and uncomfortable. And I slept the whole night feeling this. And I'm like, is it indigestion? What's going on? Did I, you go through the whole list of, what did I eat? What was I thinking about? What did I do? All these things. Oh my God, is it a heart attack? Right. You go through the whole list of what to check in, what's going on. And then into the next day on Wednesday, I was feeling it as well. And also yesterday. It was like a long process. And somewhere in the middle of Wednesday, I was like, every time I hear the news, my jaw's clenching and that sensation in my chest is getting worse. Recognizing that it's not just the tension of, oh my God, this is going on in the world, but also feeling the energetic impact. We're all connected. There are brothers and sisters all over the world right now, particularly in that part of the world, who are going through devastation. You're going to feel that in some way. You're a witch, you're sensitive. Even if you don't identify what it is that you're feeling, the impact registers. It registers in our nervous system, it registers in our psyches, it registers in our soul. And when it's so horrific like this, we want to help, we want to like heal, we want to rescue, we want to stop it. And we can't, at least not immediately, which is what makes this so difficult. These are the things, and there's a list. I'm going to give you a list, but here are the things. And it's super counterintuitive and it's going to feel crazy selfish. You have to take care of yourself. You have to manage your energy. You have to do the work now, because this is going to be a long one. And we're not even coming out of, we are year 3 into what has already been a devastatingly depleting 3-year period with this pandemic and all the things that it's stirred up. We need to do the work of stocking our power and stocking our energy, meaning do the things that nourish you, do the things that feed you, do the things that keeps you prepared. As a warrior, we talked about, you don't think you were there, but we just did our live gathering for the book subscription on Tuesday, right? For the 2 books that we read, both focusing in different ways on being a warrior. A warrior's ready. A warrior is strong and does the things that need to keep the body and the soul and the mind ready and strong. And so our self-care right now is critical. It's always critical, but it's easy to let it go even more now when we're just feeling despair. You have to nourish yourself with food that's really helpful for you. You have to move your body and stay limber and strong, however you can and however able you are. You need to keep your energy clean and energy like sharp. So letting go of those things that are distracting, that deplete, that are not useful, because we're going to be called upon to hold each other up. We're going to be called upon to support one another. We're going to be called upon to send money. I think Emily has a link to, and I know that you may not necessarily be talking about what's happening in the Ukraine, but this is really what's up. Emily has a link to a charity that is taking donations for support on the ground. We're going to be called to call truth to power and take our leaders to task. We may be called upon, depending on where you are in the world, to defend your person, your neighbor, your other human, right? So it's important that we come back to really very fiercely protect the level of self-care that we give to ourselves. And then we've got the spell work. We've got speaking truth to power, reaching out to our politicians, taking care of one another, forming coalitions in your neighborhood so when things go wrong, supply chains are going to be devastated. This isn't a prediction. This is just the lay of the land, because China is very heavily involved in this. And we probably take, I think at this point, our toilet paper is coming from China. We need to make coalitions with our neighborhoods and our people around us so that we can all support each other when we need to. If you don't have something and I do, I need to give it to you, right? So that we can uplift each other. There are little things that we can do every single day, but it has to start with the level of care and the level of nourishment that you are constantly feeding yourself to keep yourself ready and strong and healthy. And that means your body, but it also means your soul, and it means your psyche, and it means your intellect. All of those things. And don't isolate. Speaking as an introvert who loves to isolate, it's like my power place. I get fed being alone. We cannot afford to be disconnected from each other. We need to come together and weave very strongly our sense of community, both across the interwebs, across the planet, but also in real time and real space, person to person, with who's around you. We're going to need each other in a way that, I don't know, we haven't needed in a long time. So I don't know if that fully answered you, but that's the advice that I have. That's where I'm looking at right now. I think that the ramifications of what we're seeing happening today, coupled with the 3 years that we are still in over the pandemic and what that's done politically and what that's done to divide us so much, all of the unrest that's come out of that, plus all of the deaths and losses that we've had because of it. Like, we are at a breaking point, and we really need to turn inward and really, really fiercely, I mean that word very specifically, very fiercely, take care of ourselves and stock our power and our energy so that we can then respond to what's coming. Anyway, I know that's really heavy and intense, but we're in trouble. The planet's in trouble, humanity's in trouble. Geopolitically, I know a lot of people don't like to look at that stuff. The ramifications of what's happening will affect everyone on the planet for a long time. And we just started. Okay, so let me see what's happening here. And I love that you said that you know that you're not a soul warrior. That's perfectly said. Jacqueline says, practice makes proficient, be gentle with yourself. Yes, absolutely. And then Emily added a link there. We'll be posting it on social media as well, but a link there for any donations. I mean, at this point, even if it's $1, let me speak to that. Money's tight for a lot of people, and I respect that. And it's often really discouraging when you want to give and you want to support, and you're like, I have $1. What the hell is $1 going to do? But you're a witch. This is important. You're a witch. And so just the act of, I have $1 that I can spare. I don't have 10, I don't have 15, I don't have 1,000. I have $1. Just the energetic act of taking that $1, because you are putting action behind the intention to help and to support. That is a powerful spell. Don't get lost in the, oh, what's $1 going to do? Don't get lost there, because you're making a spell. When you donate, you are backing your intention to help with action. And those are the most powerful, powerful spells to do. We have to always support and back our intention with action. That's the equation. That's the spell equation. And so don't feel like, I can't help this way. I don't have anything. $1. Let that be the spell. Yeah. So that link is there if you want to use it. And then there, of course, there's so many other things going on the planet that we can support. There are, I'm sure, a bunch of other really great organizations that you can then do that with. Season Human says, I love the sacred space. I'm going into the deep forest of my grandma's stay about rituals to prepare for the birth of my first day star grandchild under the Aries sun. Oh, I'm so happy for you. Oh, congratulations. Emily says that the link is also in our link tree on Instagram. And then Emily says, personally, I will say donate to Save the Children. So yes, and thank you for that. That is also a beautiful organization and an important one. So you don't have to donate to these. There are countless. Just do your due diligence, but just remember, especially at the second that you, oh, my temperature is a little low. Okay, I'm going to keep talking, but I'm going to turn off my camera so it can cool off. Just remember that no matter who you donate to, because we're not affiliated with any of these, at the second that you're going to click that button, right, that like pay now button, make that your spell. Don't underestimate your power. Make that your spell. Callum says, so time to go into the forest, eat healthy, and hit the gym again. I mean, yeah, basically we need to, I mean, if you want to really consider, we should talk a lot more about this, because those two books really inspired me. This archetype, this role as a spiritual warrior, what that might be. Warriors are on the ready. They have to be. That's the job, right? And our power requires nurturing and nourishment. And so, and life requires nourishment and care. So to the extent that we're caring for our life force is the extent that we're able to actually have it and express it and be present in the world and be ready for whatever life is throwing in our direction. So do it in a way that is not fueled by anxiety. Do it in a way that is fueled by responsibility. As a person in the world, as a witch in the world, we have a duty and a responsibility to ourselves and to each other to show up and to support and to uplift. And so, at least the kind of witchcraft that I practice, yeah? And so, don't run out to the gym and get all frenetic about it. Do it from a place of responsibility, not anxiety. This is just what we do on the day-to-day to maintain our glorious life force in the world. You're welcome, Colum. Angela, hi, Angela says, true, I feel that way sometimes too. My camera came back on just as I turned it off. Oh, let me see if I can turn it back on again. Hold on. I also have my heater on, at full blast, because it's like, I don't know, 5 degrees outside right now. Let's see. Okay, so I think I'm back on, so let me know. But I'm probably gonna have to let this go in a couple minutes. I feel okay. Oh, it just kind of flickered green. Oh, okay, you can do it, girl. Just like blow up my camera and see if it. Season Wee Moon says, a sacred economy to those in the sacred community, assisting folks to stay whole within the community. Yes, that is exactly what a sacred economy is. Oh, it's flashing on and off. My post didn't post. We didn't see it, Jacqueline. I'm not sure. Oh, you did see it. Okay, good. And you can see me now. Okay. Let's see how it goes. All right, my loves. This was a big one. This was a heavy one. Be gentle with yourself. Also know that when you do this kind of work, the forgiveness work that we just did, other things will start to come up. So journal it. You might feel a little overwhelmed as like, oh, there was that, and oh, there was that. Give yourself space and be gentle with yourself when things come up. Just make note of it. Always look at it as an opportunity to remember, like, oh, there's that I might need to come back to at some point. And you just write it down and let it go and just keep doing that until you're ready to take those things up on your own one by one. What's happening? My post didn't post. I feel like I saw something by Jacqueline. Season Weeman says, love, I walked into the world with love leading. So many people are in pain under great stress. I know, it's devastating. Yeah, Jacqueline, I don't know what's happening, but usually like if there is a like if there's a questionable post by someone, what we see on our end, like Column had a couple of those that I hit show. It'll say this is kind of questionable. Do you want to hide it or do you want to show it? And then we can click show it. But I haven't seen anything like that come up for you. And Column, it came up for you because you used that word, so it's you were fine. um all right, my loves, it's a heavy one. Be good to yourselves. Next Tuesday, because I have a fancy new computer, I will be here unless something else happens, but I will be here on Tuesday for our live. Be gentle this weekend with yourselves. Definitely, and we can use a comment section down below. If you find any other really great organizations to donate to, please feel free to post them down below. And then be on the lookout for the newsletter. I'll send a newsletter out. Hopefully by Sunday it'll go out. So like that, take care of yourselves, and then I'll be here again next Friday for a guided meditation. Oh, and then really quickly, because my computer wasn't functional on Wednesday, right? I was gonna do a live Q&A for the witch's box, the oracle box. Excuse me. I will be doing that this next Wednesday. So we'll do it. We'll just do it next Wednesday. All right, take care of yourselves, replenish, drink water, sleep well, and yeah, do your magic. Okay. Bye, you guys. Mm.